What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Average Joe Rating Climb. We're 17-12. I will play D4. I haven't played that in a while, and I think I will go into a Colle. I have a list of openings over here that you guys have requested, so I'll try to play some of these, and the Colle is one we haven't played in a while. Okay, so when you play the Colle, usually you go for this setup with the pawns, and when they attack you with the C pawn, almost always you're going to play C3 just to defend on D4. Now, if they take, we don't want to take with the C pawn because then we leave this B4 square open. The knight can jump in, the bishop can come out. So we want to take with the E pawn. We keep that controlled. And also by taking with the E pawn, we let our bishop come out, which is nice. Okay. So general setup is going to be knight on F3. We're going to castle. And we'll see what our opponent does about this. After we castle, a lot of times we try to play E4, but let's see if they're going to actually put their pawn on D5 or if they're going to do something else. Okay, they played bishop E7. I don't think that affects us. Let's go ahead and castle. And, okay, B6. So they are delaying castling. So that's something to keep an eye on. A lot of times what I like to do with the Colle is play E4, open up the bishops, and actually attack on the king side. But if they don't castle, that doesn't really make as much sense. So let's go ahead and start with the move rook to E1. And I'm just kind of lining up on the king. Of course, there's a lot of pieces in between. But you would be amazed at how quickly sometimes these things can open up as the game goes on. Okay, there. I'm paying attention to this knight too, like queen A4, bishop B5. Can we actually take advantage of this? That's one thing that I'm wondering, because, for example, if we play bishop B5 and they go bishop to B7, I think we can go knight E5, attacking it. They could play rook C8, then we can go queen A4. So we have queen, a bishop, and a knight. They could defend. Yeah, I guess they have just enough pieces that they could defend with. So we probably can't make anything happen there. I'm just trying to make sure. You always want, whenever there's like a weak piece, right? You always want to stop and make sure there's no tactics or ways to take advantage of that. I don't think so. I think he's got just enough. Bishop B7, queen A4, let's say rook C8. Oh, you know, I could maybe even take on A7, actually. So maybe we could do that. Yeah, the question is, do I even want to do that, right? Do I even want to do that? Let's say I go knight E5, and he does play maybe queen C7 or queen D6. If I grab the pawn, and they castle, and we just get a big trade, I'd be up a pawn. So this is very tempting, this idea of the bishop and the queen. The other thing that I could do is just continue with the normal Colle stuff. Knight here, play E4. But I think, generally speaking, when they give you a weakness, you got to take advantage of it. So I'm just going to check one more time. So bishop here, queen here. Let's say queen C7, knight E5, rook C8. If I take, if the rook goes back trying to trap my queen, I don't believe that works because we could take here with check. And if you take with the bishop, you lose your queen. If you take with the queen, I take, it's also defending. I think we would be in good shape. Yeah, I'm going to go for it, guys. It looks like a weakness that we can exploit. So now the other move, I guess, that I didn't consider is bishop D7. But that kind of feels like an awkward place for the bishop. And so, you know, that makes me wonder, should I start with queen A4? Because if you go bishop D7 there, I might just like my bishop sitting here. The other thing I could do, which is a bit unorthodox, is the old back and forth trick. All right, I'm overthinking it. I'm going to play bishop to B5. Yeah, he does go bishop B7. So he avoids kind of the traps there. But now the bishop is kind of awkward. Like when you play B6, you really want your bishop to go here, I think. So I kind of like this position of how we've made his bishop go to an awkward square. That being said, let's continue with the Colle move. So we'll bring our knight out, and usually we try to play E4. Okay, now we've got this interesting dynamic. If they do castle, okay, and I'm actually tempted to just go straight back and just say, look, I got your bishop to move to an awkward square. Now I'm going to go back and continue my attack over here. Is that the best thing? I don't actually know. Could also just go this way right away. The rook can come up. That doesn't look so bad either. So yeah, I will just go ahead and play E4, I think. This is generally what you want to do after you get your, you get your solid setup. You get your pieces in position, usually a rook on E1. Sometimes you can also put a queen on E2. You get your knights in good position, and you play E4. And then you kind of open things up and notice this bishop actually comes into the game in a lot of cases. Okay, and if they didn't take me, then you probably were going to be pushing forward and creating some problems for the black knight there. Okay, so they take. I believe I'm just going to take with the pawn. Now, yes, I get an isolated pawn, but we keep control of these key squares. We keep the knight on a nice f3 square. We can jump to these important squares. Yeah, I think that's exactly what I'm going to do. Just taking here. And we'll see how black's going to respond, but so we're ready to go with the bishop. And I don't know if this bishop b5 move was actually good. Like, it's questionable. I mean, I think this is a little awkward for black, but was it worth me just moving my bishop over there? Because you could say that's a little bit awkward for me. I would like my bishop to be here. I don't actually know. We'll check with Stockfish after the game and see what Stockfish recommends in that position. Okay, he's going to chase me away, so I think I will just go back. This is generally speaking the diagonal that I want this bishop to be on in the Colle. And we usually get pressure on h7. So I'm actually happy that black wasted a move, or spent a move, I should say, to make me go here. Okay, he moves the knight away. So already I'm thinking about possible sacrifices here if we get the opportunity. So for example, knight here. What does that look like if they play, let's just say, h6? And don't see a clear path through. Bringing the bishop back and the queen up is a way to create a dangerous battery, but takes 2 moves. That's a lot of time to spend. I'm not sure if that's the best approach in this position. I think I might want to just get this bishop out. Maybe just bring it to g5. Just develop it. If they take me, I'm happy to recapture. Yeah, I think I will just do that. Because we don't want to leave these pieces on the back rank for too long. When you play the Colle, you leave the bishop there temporarily. But once you play e4 and open it up, you really do want to look for ways to get it into the game, right? Okay, they play h6. All right. And I'm probably just going to make this trade. And I'm thinking about queen to e2. Also thinking about rook c1. So here's the thing. This knight, or one of these knights, is probably going to jump to b4. I don't want to give up this bishop for one of these knights. I want to use this as an attacking piece. So I'm probably going to drop my bishop back. But if my rook is stuck on a1 and I drop it back, it's not going to be able to come into the game, right? So I'm actually going to play rook c1 immediately, so that if this knight moves here, either knight, now when I play bishop to b1, my rook is in the game. I'm very happy with where it is on an open file, and my bishop can continue to put pressure. They don't actually attack me, which is fine. Let's think about how I might still go there anyway because I really want to play queen to d3. I think I will. Also adds a defender here, but more importantly, I want to go queen d3. This battery is very dangerous, right? Because if black has to play a move like g6, they just create these permanent weaknesses around their king, right? And we'd be very happy with that. So queen d3, extremely powerful move here, I think, and I'm probably going to go ahead and do it. If they attack me, check, takes check here. Oh, the king actually escapes. That is interesting. That's very interesting. So I might have to set this up. I need to take away the knight to b4 stuff. See, I almost had a tactic where I could go here and then follow up with the checkmate, except it's not checkmate because the queen could have captured and then the king has an escape square. Okay, now I think we can say, there's knight f4 too, which I'm just looking at. It's not quite that simple. Okay, let's shift our plan just a little bit. And since they've given me this square, and what I mean by that is when you push a pawn 2 spaces forward, you lose control of some squares, right? Like these squares are no longer controlled. This is a nice outpost for my knight. You guys see that? So I'm going to actually move it ahead of time so that now when I play queen d3, we're immediately threatening the checkmate. Now they can go knight f6 and stop that, but I still have that constant threat. And if I can figure out a way to get rid of that knight, we might be in business. Okay, so that's the plan. Also, I'm attacking some stuff here, and they do defend that. Okay. Oh, you know what, guys? We might have a tactic. We might have a very clever tactic here, if I'm not mistaken. Instead of queen d3, I'm going to go queen c2. Now, can you guys tell me why would I make that change? Why would I make that change? Well, it's because of this guy, right? It's only defended by the bishop. So if I eliminate the bishop, even if they recapture with the queen, I've got 2 pieces lined up on the knight. I'm going to win a piece. So I was still threatening this, which they saw, but I was also threatening this, which I think they didn't see. Now I can make the trade, and it doesn't matter how you recapture. I'm winning this knight for free, okay? So that one was a little bit more advanced. Those are the kind of tactics that you really need to start seeing if you want to get past 1700, I think. Because they're not going to just blunder, you know, obvious checkmates, right? Like we see that. They're seeing what I'm doing. But the sneaky ones like this, a lot of times they will fall into, okay? So let me go ahead and grab my piece here. And we should have plenty of time now that we have the extra piece to finish out this endgame. 2 minutes should be plenty. Because it's going to get a lot easier to play now with the extra piece. But that's an easy tactic to miss if you're not kind of paying attention and scanning for those opportunities, right? So, okay, he wants to keep the queens on the board, which I guess makes sense. Can I go d5 here just to bust everything open? You take with the knight. No, I guess maybe I can't do that. I am going to... I'm going to go here, reposition the bishop here, and maybe I'll try to play d5 now. This is an isolated pawn, so if I can trade it off, I don't have that weakness anymore. Also kind of opens up things for my rooks. I like that. Rook c8, I will be happy to trade my queen for 2 rooks. 2 rooks is usually fine to trade for a queen. Oh, okay. Well, this, yeah, definitely I'm going to trade queens. Why? Because I'm up a piece. So trading gets me closer to an endgame where it's going to be easier to win. Okay? I'm going to defend the pawn, and then I want to jump my knight into e5, I think. So let me go here. Okay, again, I'm probably going to be trading this just because it gets me closer to the end game. So yeah, I'm going to just go ahead and do it. Again, I'm going to go here, keep trading pieces, simplifies the game so that I don't lose on time, right? They don't want to trade. They don't have to. Okay, they're going to let me. Let's take that. Let me just play f4 just to overprotect the knight. Also lets my king into the game. There's no back rank mates. I'll go back, keep the pawn defended. Okay, let's just bring the king up towards the center. Okay, now we can use our rook. This is well defended. Trading is fine. Let's go here. And, okay, knight's under attack. Not a big deal. We'll just move it. I think I will go with a check here. Force the king back to defend. Okay, they didn't see it, and that's a rough one for them. And now, the easiest way to win a game like this is just to get a new queen. So, what's the simplest and easiest way for me to get a queen? I'm going to push this pawn. Yes, they can en passant, but I just take it, and I have this passed pawn. And of course, you just cut off the king. That's the simple and easiest thing to do. Get a queen, and we just ladder checkmate. Game is over. Okay, cut him off, bring the rook down, and there's the checkmate. All right, good game to our opponent. Very instructive, that queen c2 move, I think. But let's go ahead and quickly analyze this one. Yeah, pretty well played game. Didn't make too many mistakes. Our opponent didn't play bad, but that one big mistake kind of cost them the game, right? And the fork at the end, but at that point they were already losing. It was really the queen c2 move. So, okay, so yeah, Stockfish says this is not a bad move, but it doesn't really accomplish anything. So Stockfish didn't recommend it. Stockfish actually recommended knight e5 first, which is interesting. And what's the idea here? I guess e4 now, and I'm trying to see what is Stockfish thinking here. Takes, and then queen g4. So yeah, this is some weird stuff. You're attacking over here. It's kind of tough. Yeah, I see this. It's tough for black to figure out what to do, because if you castle, you're in big trouble, right? Bishop h6 is coming, and black's probably losing material. So they have to go king f8. Wow, yeah, that's pretty advanced. So I'm not surprised that I didn't see that. Okay, but still, we get into a decent position. Stock. Ooh, wow, crazy tactic here. Knight takes d4 is a wild move. And what's the idea? So if I take the knight, I'm losing my bishop. That's the first part. If I take with this knight to defend, he just takes here. And after the trade, I'm losing a pawn. Wow. And if I decide to try to take here first, he has this in-between move. And again, I just lost a pawn. So wow, black had a very nice tactic. I totally missed it. And you have to be careful when your pieces are undefended, right? And that was a nice one there. Knight takes d4. Did not see that at all. Okay, my opponent didn't see it either. We get the trade. And yeah, I don't know if this was a good move for them because they gave me a very clear move of knight c5. I think if they just kind of played something else, they were going to be just fine. But this one allowed this very nice square for my knight. And then, yeah, that is a blunder. And we talked about it in the game, queen c2. Yeah, okay. They defend that and lose the piece. All right, that was basically the game right there. And it goes to show you, like, when you're at 1700, those kind of mistakes are what will win you or lose you the game, right? So really just pay close attention to all the pieces that might be undefended. Like in this position, if you're kind of scanning, you're like, okay, I have this trade and I do have the rook there, but it's not good enough. I wonder if I could pair that with something. And I've got this bishop here. And oh, wait a second. Queen c2. Oh, okay. Queen c2. That's kind of the thought process that you want to go through to come up with that move. Okay, let's go to the next game. We have white again. I will play e4 this game just to mix it up a little bit. Oh, French defense. I don't have a lot of things to play against the French defense. I have been playing the Alapin Gambit lately, which I've had great success with, so we'll just stick with that. The nice thing about this is people who play the French, they probably have studied some of the main line stuff. Like if you play knight c3 or if you play knight d2 or e5, there's a very good chance they're going to know what to do for at least the next several moves, right? When you play something like the Alapin Gambit, they're probably going to be like, what is this? And might not really know what to do. Yes, c5 is a weird move because, usually when you play c5, if they take, you just come out with your bishop. But I already have my bishop defending it. So I think I can just safely take that, honestly. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I mean, if you push, you just lose a pawn. Knight f6. Okay. I'm thinking I just take. I guess the knight could come in and it hits my bishop. The thing about pushing that I don't really know if I want to do is if I push and the knight just goes back, I'm now going to be definitely losing one of my pawns. Actually, I do have bishop b5. Knight c6. Takes. Yeah, I'm going to be losing a pawn, right? I can defend that one, lose this one. I don't know if I want to do that or not. Push here, knight f3. Even knight c6 starts putting a lot of pressure on my pawns. I think what I would rather do is maybe just develop my piece here. Notice the queen here. If black, let's just, for example, tries to take, I can trade these queens followed by castles, and I get a very active position. So yeah, I think knight c3 seems to be a very, very solid move. So let's go with that. They do bring their knight back, but now they're letting me just take here, which I don't know if that's going to be good for them. They're not even thinking, which probably not a good decision by our opponent. I think we just take here now. And then our queen can come in, or maybe the knight. Yeah, because they're blocking off their defense, right? So, and also they lost one here. Okay, they're just going to take this way. Wow, this is very, very strange what our opponent is doing. Okay, I think we should pause here for a moment because this is a very interesting position. So my instinct is, okay, let's just take the pawn. If they take me, I take them. I'm pretty happy. But they can just come out. And I'm up a pawn, but they might have some piece activity. There's also bishop to b5 check. Now, what that does is if you play bishop d7, and now I take, you can't take back with your bishop. So that's something to keep in mind. You could still take back with the knight. And if you decided to take me, I have maybe some tactics. Okay. Yeah, I think it does make sense to throw in this move. Also, you can't play knight c6 at the moment, so you're kind of limited in what you can do. I'm getting a piece developed. Even if this trade happens, I already talked about the... Yeah, I think that's a smart one. So we'll go with bishop e5 check. And of course, they're going to probably block with one of these. And then I think we take here. And I'm really ready to play knight f3 and castle kingside, or just move my queen and castle queenside. And I think we're just going into an endgame up a pawn. Yeah, I think we just take here now. And we have some fancy tactics if they take me. Maybe we'll get to see it. The idea is we take here. Ooh, yep. All right. So we take here with a check. It lures the king away, and then we win the queen for free. If they try to hold on by going king e7, there's bishop g5, and again, we're going to win the queen. So that was a big mistake, a big blunder. And here we go. We throw in this in-between move. Okay, they do take, and here we go. We get a free queen. So, yeah, and they just resigned. I mean, that was... I think they were just playing too fast. I don't even think they were really thinking. They were just kind of moving. And, yeah, you could see the dangers of that when you're playing against a strong player, right? So, okay. Oh, yeah, cool. So we played a good game. All right. And yeah, c5 was just not a good move right from the beginning. Really capturing either way, Stockfish says, but this one was fine. Knight c3 was the best move. Taking was the best move. And these were easy moves to find, guys, because it was just obvious, like, oh, undefended pawn, I should take it, right? And then bishop b5 check. Yeah, it's good. Stockfish also liked knight f3, queen f3. So there was a lot of good moves that keep the advantage. But this one was a good one. Taking here was okay. Stockfish liked trading here first for some reason. Because now there's no knight to recapture. And what is the line that Stockfish wanted? It wanted me to actually trade. Okay, this is kind of weird. It wanted this, and then we castle, and we get in a lot of activity. The point is, there was a lot of good moves. And, you know, whatever. That's fine. Let's go to the next game. All right, we got black this one. D4. Let me see what's on my list. I think Budapest Gambit we've played a couple times. Should I? All right, let's play it. I haven't looked at these lines recently, so I'm probably gonna not remember too much. There's actually multiple ways you can play this. I think the knight e4 ones are pretty tricky. Let's see if I can remember some of these traps. I think, like, if white is smart, they'll play something like a3. Okay, I think knight f3 is probably fine. Let's see. If we go check, what is the... There's some crazy traps here. I don't exactly remember. Maybe it's d6. Maybe it's d6. Let's play d6. The reason we're playing d6 is we want to just give up a pawn and get quick development. But we also want to set up a little something here. And if you look at this square and this square and this piece and this piece and this piece, maybe something jumps out at you guys. Yeah, is this the trap? Again, look at these pieces and tell me if something jumps out at you. See, I don't actually know if it is, because what I would like to do is take here and then play bishop g3 and win the queen. But after I take and bishop g3, they can go king e2. And I don't think it works, because then I'm just down a piece at that point, right? Yeah, so unfortunately, maybe... Am I missing a move here? Let's see. Check, king e2. No, I don't think so. I don't think we can do it, guys, unfortunately. Yeah, that's a clever one, but it's not gonna work here, I don't believe. Okay. Well, in that case, I believe we just develop. Oh, you know what? Oh, wow. Oh, hold on. If my bishop was on e6, then it would work, right? Because you would have bishop takes c4 and just win the game. So I could play bishop e6 here. And if white plays some random move like knight c3, I guess it could still work. But if they move their bishop, it doesn't work anymore. I mean, it's a good square for my bishop anyway. All right, we'll play bishop e6. It's not like I'm playing hope chess where like, I hope they don't see it and I'm going to win. It's like it's there. It could work. But if it doesn't work, I'm just playing a good move and I'm just getting my bishop to a good square. That's kind of how I'm viewing it, right? They're probably going to move their bishop. And I don't think it's going to work, but it's fine. It's a good developing move. You guys see how that works though, right? Knight takes f2, takes, check. If they take me, we just get the queen. So they have to go to e2 to defend it. But now our bishop is in position. Boom. And we've got the bishop slicing across. Yeah, that also defends, right? So again, we have the same issue of, well, now we don't even have the queen. So knight takes f2 doesn't even make any sense anymore. Okay, so with that in mind, I think I don't want to just trade off all the pieces. I am down a pawn. So I think I'm just going to go back. Yeah, I don't really remember the theory. There's a lot of tricky lines. I think we almost had one of them, but didn't quite work. Maybe we can look at a couple of those after the game. Yeah, this is one drawback of going with the bishop before the knight. If my knight was on c6 and this happened, I would always have the option to trade. Now I don't, so I'm probably gonna have to waste time going back to d7. Okay, and now I think I will play knight c6, just getting the knight out. And getting ready to castle next. Okay, let's go ahead, get the king to safety. So we're down the pawn, but we do have a lead in development. We have all 4 pieces out, and white is still trying to develop. And we have both open files on the E and D file, so we can put our rooks there and have a nice position. I am going to go queen e7. And, excuse me, and now we have rook a to d8, which is going to be lined up on white's queen. I like that. Also rook e8 if we want. And let's see what we can do here. Let's go ahead, just line it up with the queen. Looks like they want to play b4. I don't really mind too much. Okay, they go ahead with queen c2. All right. Now is the time of the game when I want to put some pressure on my opponent. So the question is, how do I do that, right? I think one is going to be to trade this knight. And, okay, they take with the knight. I was not sure. They could have taken really either way. But now I have... I'm just checking if I have a sacrifice. Knight g4 is probably not good enough. So I think I'm going to go with queen here to put the pressure on. And I want them to maybe make a weakening move. If they play knight f3, I think I'll swing over, and notice how all my pieces are kind of lined up in that direction. That's usually a good sign that you might be onto a nice attack. So let's go ahead with queen e5, threatening checkmate. Okay, and I think I will just slide it right over. Okay, so we have a very clear plan. Bishop g4, take the knight, checkmate. So they're trying to get ahead of that, but I wonder now if I can just sack my bishop, right? So bishop takes. Looks very good for me. The queen is on the other side of the board. The bishop's on the other side of the board. They only have these 2 pieces. I have all my pieces kind of lined up. I think that's absolutely the move I should play. Unless there's some immediate tactic. But even if they move their knight somewhere and attack my queen, I can always just drop back and recreate this threat. So let's go ahead. This is exactly what I wanted from this game. And we'll see if we can checkmate the king. All right. That's a safe pre-move. We recapture that. And don't forget about our rooks. You know, we can also potentially bring them up somewhere and over if we need more pieces to attack. Maybe even move this, and this guy can come up. Sorry, up to here. But even just the queen, the knight, and the bishop by themselves might be able to get the job done here. Because if this knight goes to g4, bishop goes to h2, I mean, white has to figure out somehow to survive, right? And I don't think that's going to be easy to do. So let's see. Also, we can throw in a queen g4 check and maybe knight e4 if we want, f5, and then bring the rook up to f6 and over. There's so many ways you can do it, right? So we just kind of have to react to how white tries to defend and keep our eyes open for tactics where you get checkmate or win big material. e4 is a interesting move. Okay, I mean, I guess they want the bishop to come into the game, but it can't really go there right now. Maybe they want to play e5 to shut down my bishop. I could see that. So a move that comes to mind is rook e8. But also just knight g4, because on knight g4, if you play e5 now, I just take it. You can't take me because checkmate. So just getting this knight on g4, now I have two pieces supporting the checkmate. Extremely dangerous situation for white. Yeah, I think that's exactly what I'm going to do. There's also a check, right? And the king moves and I take this pawn. But is that better than knight g4? That's really the question we have to answer. That's not actually bad either. Let's say king here. Oh, I mean, it has to be. It's the only move. And then I take. That's very good too. Let's see. Rook g1 would lose immediately. Huh. So I am torn between queen g4 and grab the pawn, or just knight g4 immediately. I mean, let's see. What is my threat? Let's say he plays like rook d8. What is exactly am I threatening? Check. King moves here. And I do what? No, then this is checkmate. So the rook wouldn't be able to move. Let's say the rook didn't move. Something else moved. Check. The king moves. I have a discovered check, but I don't actually like have a win. Wow, this is tough because both of these lines look very appealing to me. And I am really not sure which one is better. All right, I'm just going to play one because I don't want to lose on time. I want to make sure I save some time. So sometimes you have to make these tough decisions of like, just pick one. It might not be the best one, but at least the game progresses. You save yourself some time and you move on. Okay, so we'll go with this one. Maybe the other one was better. We'll see after the game. But this still looks very good, right? I have lots of attacking chances. He has to be really careful. Like if you go there, you just blunder mate. If you move your knight, you blunder mate. Like there's so many ways white can mess this up, right? And I think I can just very easily play f5, rook f6, and try to come over here somehow. Even here, I mean, just a lot of things. Okay, well, there you go. And that's why you attack, right? Because your opponent is, unless they're cooking rice, they're going to make a mistake at some point. And there you go. He blunders the checkmate and won. So let's go see, actually, did Stockfish agree with that? Or was there something better we could have done? Ooh, okay, 79. Yeah, not the greatest accuracy. So that tells me we did make some mistakes there at the end. Let's see what they were. And also we can check the opening if there were any traps available that I missed. Okay, so yeah, d6 is not the move in this position. It's been played a few times, actually. But the main line here seems to be knight c6, followed by knight b to d2, followed by knight c5. Yeah, I wasn't familiar with these lines at all. G3. Yeah, I guess there's a lot of different ways you could play this. D6. Okay, I didn't know that. Anyway, E3. All right, so like I said, I'm going to show you the trap. This is what I was trying to go for, but it doesn't work because they simply go king E2 and defend, right? That's why I was trying to get my bishop here so I could follow up with that. But it also didn't work after knight b to d2 because, again, it's defended. So same deal. You can't go there, right? Well, and also, I guess, They could just take me. And like I said, there's no threat on the queen. Okay, so bishop e6. We keep some pieces on the board. And this idea... Okay, they should have taken with the pawn. Yeah, it was much better because it didn't allow me to do what I did. Also lets their bishop out. You can use the e-file. White actually has a great position here with these pawns. Yeah, that would have been a nice move for them. This idea of creating this battery on the king is a good one to keep in mind. Because it's not that easy to deal with it, as we saw. I mean, if they play f4, then they've created this weakness that we can attack. We just drop our queen back, maybe our knight, rook, we just attack that guy, or even bishop c5, and we line up here. If they play g3, well, then we have the light squares that we can try to take advantage of somehow like this. There's lots of different ways depending on how the game goes. And if they do what they did in the game, swinging your queen over, again, another idea. Keep this in the back of your mind. This is super dangerous for your opponent, right? Because bishop g4 takes here and checkmate. It's very difficult to stop that. Now, Stockfish says c5 was the way to go. Just sacrificing a pawn to get that bishop off of the diagonal to give them time. They play b4, followed by bishop b2. And let's see, I'm curious, how was Stockfish planning on dealing with this? Wow, Stockfish is so just ridiculous. You know what Stockfish's solution was? Watch this. Rook to d1. Allow the capture. Allow this. Tuck your king over, because now black has no attack. I have no attack now, because if I go here, you just run. And you're winning. I mean, okay, that's not easy for a lot of people to see, right? Humans to see. But that's how Stockfish would have defended. As you saw in the game, this is what usually happens. People make mistakes, okay? Unless you get up to like 23, 2400 level, there's going to be some kind of a mistake. In this case, it was here. We had the brilliant bishop sacrifice. Okay. Stockfish says, I'm looking at it. Yeah. Stockfish actually says both of these moves lead to minus 5.5. It's almost identical. And so that is a good example of why you can't just sit there and think, trying to find the best one, because you might have a situation like this. They're both equally good. And if you use up all your time and then you lose on time, that's obviously not good, right? So I did make the right decision by just choosing one. And that makes sense why I couldn't figure out which one was better. They both were really good. So yeah, Stockfish says this is also great. Both of them are winning. I just chose this one. And then, ooh, this was not the right follow-up move. Okay, the reason was queen h5 check. Oh, is this going to be just a case of repeating the position? Oh, Stockfish, don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. Okay, so sometimes Stockfish gives moves like this. It says they're okay, but really it just wants you to repeat and then do something else. So it did like knight g4 better. It just wanted you to repeat and then play knight g4. Okay. So, sorry. Knight g4 was the better move. Okay. Anyway, they still were pretty good. All right, let's go back to the game. I don't want to spend all video on this. This was not the best because of the move c5. This is so... Who would play this? c5. What is the point of this even? Knight g5. Again, what is happening? Knight g5. Oh, the queen is under attack. I see. Okay, and if I go check, king g2. Oh, and if you take, the bishop is hanging because you played c5 early. I mean, yeah. So it's a very difficult position. Stockfish has some crazy moves, but practically speaking, it's hard for your opponent to play, right? Even at 1700. Okay. What a game. What a crazy game. All right. We were black again. Let's see. Are we going to see another d4? No, e4 this time. Okay. What's on my list? Let's see. Let's go e5. And then I guess we defend. D4. I don't like playing against the Scotch game. I don't like it. Well, you pretty much have to take this pawn, otherwise he's going to push and gain a bunch of space and you're going to have a bad position. So we pretty much have to take... I'm more familiar with the Scotch Gambit than the actual Scotch game. So let's see what our opponent decides to do here. Scotch Gambit I would be happy to see. Scotch game, well, we're just going to have to make the best of it. Okay, they do play the Gambit. Good. So against this one, I like to play the knight f6 lines. And if they castle... Okay, they play e5. I was going to say, if they castle, you actually can take the pawn, even though it looks crazy because they have rook e1, but you have the move d5, and there's some like theoretical lines there. On e5, this is really, really important that you guys remember this. When you're playing these e4, e5 openings, they play d4 and you take. If they ever push and attack your knight, and their bishop is on c4, probably 90% of the time, the correct solution is going to be to play the move d5. Okay? So if they push e5 to attack your knight, you play d5 to counterattack their bishop. Just take it as a fact. 90% of the time, that's going to be the best move. Okay, you can check it with Stockfish if you don't believe me, but it looks weird. It's like, wait a second, you're letting them take here and just like open you up. Like, yes, because you're getting the bishop pair and you're getting these amazing pawns. And you actually have more space than white does with these pawns here if you get this position. Okay? So usually the best thing for white is to just move over here or something. And then you have time to move your knight to e4 where it's defended by this pawn and the game goes on. Right? So e5, you play d5. Of course, there's en passant, but that's just a bad move because now you can probably just capture. Yeah, probably even with the bishop. Oh, wow, he does en passant. Okay. Yeah, this is not a problem for us. I think I want to take with the bishop. I'm just wondering, do I actually lose a pawn or not? Takes, check with the attack on the queen. C3 doesn't actually defend the queen. We take it. You can't go there. Yeah, so they can't even take the pawn. So we're basically up a pawn as black, and we have a lead in development. You see how that works? So, yeah, I mean, because white spent a bunch of time. They played e4, then they played e5, then he captured. They spent 3 moves with that pawn, and we got to play d5 in there, and now recapture with the bishop, and so we're just in a better position. So, yeah, they needed to play bishop to b5. So, yeah, remember that one. If they play e5, you play d5. Because if you play this opening where you go like knight f6 and you don't know what to do after e5, you can easily find yourself in a big mess. But as long as you know that d5 is the way to go, you're going to be just fine. Knight g5. Yeah, they're not playing good moves. And I think the simplest thing is we just castle. Remember, a knight and a bishop, you don't want to give that up for a rook and a pawn. So by castling, I just solve all my problems. Just scanning to make sure there's no like obvious tactics that I'm missing. I mean, I can go check, but they can just go here. Yeah, so we solve our problem. And we cause a problem for white. And we might later play h6, and this just looks like a silly move of like, why did you go there? Now you have to go back and you wasted a move. Okay, so I don't think white is on the right track here. And, you know, there's a lot of theory here, so I get it. If they haven't studied the theory, they wouldn't really know what to do here. Okay, I think we should develop our last piece. Like I said, h6 might also be a smart move just to go ahead and kick the knight, force it back, and then we could pin it. Yeah, that also looks very good. So yeah, I'm just debating between these moves and maybe bishop f5. So like 3 moves here coming to my mind. I guess 95 also is a move, but yeah, I'd rather maybe save that for another moment in the game. H6 I do like because I like the pin here. Going there immediately also makes sense. I mean, you don't really want to play f3. You could just create these massive weaknesses. So again, we have a situation where 2 moves probably are both pretty good. Rather than spending like an hour thinking about it, I'm just going to choose one and move it. So they're going to go knight f3, I'm pretty sure. Like I said, this would be a bad decision if they decide to do that. I would be very happy. But we'll see. And obviously, you can't go there, you can't go there, you can't go there. You probably don't want to go there because your king gets opened up. So that's why by process of elimination, knight f3 seems to be the only move. Yeah, I wonder if they're really thinking about this. You know, a lot of people, if you don't know that a knight and a bishop is just better, you might be tempted to do it and open up the king a little bit. But they do choose the best option. Let's go with the pin. This is going to be very annoying for white. And now that move knight e5 is much more dangerous, I think. They do have bishop e2, but still I'm going to keep an eye on that. Also rook e8, queen d7, bring the other rook over. And I don't even need to do anything fancy. I mean, I'm up a pawn. So even if we just trade and go into an endgame, I have an extra pawn, right? And even if I have to sack this back at some point, or they take it or whatever, it's not a big deal. Okay, so here we go. Let's think about some of these knight moves attacking the queen, also with the capturing. If we take first, we get a fork. The queen can defend. D3 doesn't really do much. They could just take it. Knight g4 is really interesting because we want to go queen h4 and sacrifice all our pieces and checkmate. Also, I could go here first, but then they just take. I don't think that's as powerful. Knight to b4 is interesting. The queen has to move, but where do you move? Aha. Because you want to keep the queen guarding the knight. So let's say you go to e2. You might get harassed by the rook, but also I could just take. You guys see how that works? Knight b4 kind of creates a situation where the queen is going to be overloaded, I think. So I'm going to play knight to b4. When I say the queen is overloaded, the queen really wants to recapture here. Like if I ever take here, you want to be able to take with your queen. You don't want to have to open up your king like this. That's really bad. So he's trying to do that. But he also has to watch out for this one. So he's going where he's defending both. But now the queen is kind of it's called overloaded. It's doing too many things. So by taking here, the queen can't move or he loses his rook. Right? So he's going to have to totally expose his king. And then we can proceed from there with how we're going to attack and checkmate the king. So hope that makes sense. And because of all of that, I am going to take the knight. And white is obligated to take with the pawn. Okay. And you might say, like, Nelson, you went through all this trouble of like moving your knight over here and taking just so that you can get him to take. Yes, absolutely. This is a big deal, right? Look at his king. That's a very big deal. It's worth it. Even if I end up losing some time with my knight, moving it back later. This is what we call a permanent weakness, right? Like, you know, if you say, oh, your knight's misplaced, well, that's a temporary thing. I can fix that. I can move my knight around and change its location. You can't fix this. I mean, unless I somehow, you know, do bad moves and let him, you know, take pawns or something. But you can't fix it. It's just a permanent thing. So it's definitely a big deal. So I don't think we want to go crazy and sack there because I don't have pieces in ready to go to follow up. But I think probably what I'm going to do is just go queen d7 and go over here. And that seems like a very simple path. That takes me 2 moves, and I'm then threatening a very nasty checkmate. He does have f4, but no, then we just jump in. That's good for me. The other thing I could do is play knight h5, which also threatens to get my queen over, but then my knight is in a better position as well. Yeah, this looks good. Knight h5, actually. Okay, I'll go knight h5. I don't know, queen d7 is probably also pretty good, but I like knight h5. I like the idea of going here. And also as a backup, I have the plan of jumping my knight into here. And if we have to trade, that's fine. But really, this is my primary threat. And you'll notice the pawns like this are super bad. Not only is the king exposed, they're also blocking white's own pieces. I mean, white would love to be able to bring this queen over. Okay, they're going to try to help defend, but the pawns are in the way, right? Speaking of which, the move d3 might be a powerful move here. I'm not actually sure. To try to keep the queen from coming to the defense. Also, I don't know if I even need to worry about that. I could just immediately play queen h4. The queen can't go there, you can't go there. You could go to f3 though. No, you can't. You lose a knight. I mean, you lose a rook. So you can't even do that. Yeah, so queen h4, I think, is a fantastic move. Let's go ahead. And again, this queen is still stuck guarding this pawn, right? Which is really unfortunate for white. And the fact that the rook would be trapped if I was able to do that also goes back to the development that they're behind in. Goes back to earlier when they en passanted and not understanding the theory, jumping their knight in, wasting time. All those little things, right, add up. So we... I guess we're threatening maybe to take here and then probably have some checkmate threats. We might end up having to sacrifice the knight, but that's totally fine. Like, for example, takes, takes, takes. If you take my knight, this is checkmate. That's not a big deal, right? Ah. Hmm. So yeah, white's probably trying to figure out, is there a way to, stop my obvious plans? But it's not going to be easy. Because they don't have pieces. Oof. Wow, king g2. I mean, my first instinct is just to take the pawn. With a check, if they take me, I take back. We have this. They can go rook h1. Then I can go check here. You have to go to f1. Then I can go check here, but then you go back to g2. Okay. I could take this, but there must be something better. Let's see what it is. Okay, what if I take with the bishop first? Does that change anything? Taking with the bishop first. If they take me, then we have a check. What if I go check first? Let's start with that. Maybe that's a better move. King h1. We can almost go here and checkmate. Let's see. So we could play this move d3 that I talked about to try to interfere with the queen. That's an interesting move, right? Because if you take with either of these pieces, then I can go check, check, king here. Takes, threatening the mate. Take back with my queen, creating the battery, and I don't think you could stop that because this is here, or the bishop could be there, but that's still good for me. Yeah, that should be a powerful move. I mean, I'm also threatening just to take this, so you can't exactly ignore that, right? Okay, let's do it. Let's go ahead. I'm gonna just start with that. Maybe I should have went check first, but I don't know. I'm just gonna go ahead and threaten this. And if you take with the pawn, I'm happy because I've solved the problem of your queen helping out, right? You take with the bishop, same thing. And you can't take with the queen because my knight will take you. Now you could let me take this. But even if you defend, my pawn is also stopping the queen. So you guys see how that works? Like really, there's not an easy way for white's queen to stay helping. You just can't do it. There's a piece in the way, right? So this is a huge deal now. And I mean, it looks like a complicated move, but really when you think about the ideas behind it, it's not that complicated. Like the queen is a very powerful piece. It's good at defending. It controls a lot of squares. If we could somehow eliminate that from the defense of the king, our attack's going to be that much more powerful. We have an easy and simple way to do that. It only costs us a pawn. Why not do it, right? So he does take. Let me go with check. Ah, you know what? There's a tactic here. Yeah, this is actually clever. There is a tactic where he could go check and unleash his queen, and I might actually lose my queen. Yeah. That's actually very smart. So I have to be a little bit careful here. I have to be a little bit careful. So what I'm going to do, guys, because I'm low on time, is actually take here first. So I am still threatening the checkmate, but notice I'm dodging this tactic of bishop h7 check, followed by queen takes f3. I'm dodging it. So now I'm threatening that. If you take me, like I said, we take with the queen. I don't see. Okay, he goes there, but now it's just a forced checkmate. right? Because you don't have king g1 anymore. You have to go rook g2. Game is over. And you don't actually have time to do your little tactic. Okay, so they messed up there. I mean, I'm not sure. Honestly, I'm not sure what they could have done differently anyway. I think maybe taking and then trying to run with their king, run away, but probably you're not going to be able to run away. I've got 2 open files here with rooks ready to go. But I think they were just losing at that point. We'll check with Stockfish and see what it has to say. And yeah, 91, pretty nice game. Let's go take a quick look. Yeah, so you see, these are book moves, right? These are the best moves that people have studied and played, and we just kind of know, like, this is just what you do. You just play d5, right? And the best move here for white is bishop to b5. Like I said, I think the line goes like this. They take, play bishop d7, I believe, and something like this. Game goes on. But they couldn't resist the temptation to en passant. It's just not a good move. My bishop comes out. I talked about it during the game. If they try to take here, that just loses the queen. We have a sneaky move there, which unleashes our queen, and they lose. C3 doesn't work because there's still a pin. Okay, the pawn is pinned, right? Can't do that. So instead, they go with knight g5, but also, again, it's just not a good threat because it's so easy for me to deal with. I can just castle. Stockfish also says queen e7 and knight e5 were good moves, but castling was very good as well. Maybe not the best. It does like h6. It also likes bishop g4. Again, we have another one of those situations where it's like, okay, you've got 2 good moves. They're both fine. Don't spend, all your time. Just pick one and also knight e5. Stockfish said, look, you could play any of those 3. So that's what I did. I played h6. Okay, we get the pin. Queen d3. Yeah, knight b4 was the best move. So whenever someone's queen moves up the board, it should just automatically in your mind just go like, all right, let me just look at the ways that I can attack the queen and see which one's best, right? So immediately I was like, okay, I could take and fork these guys. I could go immediately there and attack it, or I could go here, right? Like those are like the 3 moves that just immediately jumped into my mind. And sure enough, knight b4 is the best one that Stockfish recommends. They go there, we take, and now the king is open. And okay, knight h5 was the best. Queen d7 was also good, and then b5 for some reason was also good, but that one is probably just like a let's not lose time, we'll just play a random move and then we keep attacking. But yeah, no, I don't think that really makes a lot of sense. So yeah, knight h5 definitely was the way to go. Okay, oops, sorry guys. So knight h5 and f4 was the best way for white to try, but queen h4, king g2, d3. Yeah, Stockfish says d3 was the best move. So there you go. Interfering with the queen. Super powerful. Easy to overlook, right? But remember those ideas. Okay, and then let's see. Queen g4 check. Yeah, it was not the best. I should have actually played bishop takes f4. Not totally sure why. If they would have taken... Oh, that's so clever. Stockfish says you don't take it back right away. You throw in the check, then you take it back. No, but why is that better, actually? Why would you want to do that? Wouldn't you just want to take immediately? Sorry. Wouldn't you just want to take it straight away? It seems more dangerous. Ah, white has to give up their bishop and bring the queen over. Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Anyway, I think I'm going to end the video here. We're right about at the hour mark. I hope this helped you guys. 1743. And we're still seeing kind of the same stuff, right? Like the players are pretty good. They're not falling for the basic obvious things, but they will fall for the slightly more advanced things, whether that's an advanced tactic, whether that is maybe some opening theory that you've studied and you've learned. They don't know how to respond to it. This one, I'm surprised to see actually at this level. Not really sure about that. But then also like here, right? Like this knight b4, that's kind of an advanced move to find. Those are the moves that you really want to start looking for if you're going to get past 1700, 1800. Okay, guys, I'll see you next time. As always, stay sharp, play smart, take care.